Well, California is back at it again, and it's no surprise that hundreds of thousands of Californians are leaving California every single year. Of course, the governor likes to mislead you, suggesting that, population's not really declining that much. Yeah, but that's because you're counting births, and guess what? Babies don't contribute to the economy like grown men and women do, who are supplying and contributing to GDP with their jobs and the consumption that they provide, which they are now taking to other states because California is uncompetitive. And it's no surprise when nearly a third of California's restaurants have gone bankrupt and 2/3 of workers at least temporarily lost their jobs thanks to the lockdowns we've had in California. We've even got folks saying that there are at least 2 to 3 year recoveries expected for businesses even after we reopen because we've been out of business for so long. Folks, California has a lot of problems, and what just happened here, or what Gavin Newsom just said, is just another example of the Gavin Newsom trickery. And that's what the problem is with California, because let me be very clear. I love California. Beautiful place, great people, and amazing weather. But the reality is our government sucks. We need to fix it. And it's not all of the people who work for the government's fault. It's mostly the leadership, specifically Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom's to blame. Take a look at this. Back in April, Gavin Newsom suggested that we would completely reopen by June 15th, which sent everybody in the state the implicit signal that the state of emergency powers for COVID would be lifted. That is, state of emergency powers are powers that give the governor the ability to impose mask mandates, school lockdown restrictions, business lockdown restrictions, travel restrictions, all the crazy restrictions that we've had in California. Those are imposable via a state of emergency. And in April, Gavin Newsom implied that everything would come to an end June 15th. Everything would go back to normal. But he was very clever with his wording to purposefully not say whether the emergency declaration would be lifted or not. See, if I were governor and I had no intention of removing the state of emergency, I would be upfront with the people watching. I would be very upfront and say, look, we're going to reopen, but we're not going to lift the state of emergency. And many people in California were equally confused, judging by the dozens of news publications which basically ran headlines like, Governor U-turns on lifting state of emergency. So it's very clear that folks were confused in California. But that is because Gavin Newsom is now not lifting the state of emergency, despite the fact that he suggested he would. It was a suggestion. It was an implication. He didn't say he would. It's just a suggestion. And his justification is, the one thing I am certain of, and this is a quote from him, the one thing I am certain of is this: there's uncertainty in the future. The emergency powers remain in effect after June 15th. So in other words, at any point, Gavin Newsom could say, hey, you know what? We need to lock down again. And folks, this is literally what I'm concerned about for California. I'm concerned that during a potential COVID 2.0, Gavin Newsom is going to be even worse than he was the first time around. More lockdowns, more stringent requirements. Folks, do we really need a state of emergency right now when this is what COVID cases look like? Google it yourself. Just type in California COVID cases. Look at where we stand. Folks, we stand at 893 cases for the most populated state in the country, and Gavin Newsom wants to maintain his emergency powers. You know, to me, this sounds a whole lot like his shadiness with signing into a law, a bill that is supposed to make real estate more efficient. His SB 7 to speed up the environmental review process of real estate construction in the state of California doesn't speed up the environmental review process for real estate projects throughout the state of California. Instead, it only speeds the process up for $15 million plus units or projects that go through Gavin Newsom's office for special treatment through a special application process which requires people apply through his office. Folks, I don't know about you, but every single time I understand more about California and I read the bills and laws in the state, everything has to do with empowering the existing governor to make sure if we want a COVID 2.0 lockdown, he can do it. If we want to make only projects that go through his office faster or able to go through a real estate process faster, he can do it. If he wants to bankrupt a bunch of businesses in California, he can do it. And it's unfortunate because he's also not being transparent about it. He's not transparent about SB 7. You have to read the bill to actually know this. Nobody's covering it. And we know he played us with wording, but you know what? Enough about Gavin. what I've got to say is what I would do differently as governor. So as governor, let me make this very clear. First of all, if I had no intention of lifting a state of emergency, I would say that. I would be extremely clear and provide the proper expectations. Setting proper expectations is very important because people don't want to feel betrayed by their governor, and people already feel betrayed by their governor. Next, we don't need lockdowns again. We don't need a state of emergency again. What we need in California is proper education and business options. Business options, for example, would be if we provide HEPA filtration, one HEPA filtration machine per X number of square feet, whatever science actually provides, then we don't need business lockdowns. That's what the science says. The science says proper HEPA filtration, which is 99.99% effective against SARS-CoV, especially with UV filtration or UV lights as part of the filtration system, can be very effective. These are similar to the systems that planes use. These can be set up very inexpensively in restaurants and bars to where we don't need draconian lockdowns. In addition to that, the government has provided nearly zero education on the differences of masking in the state. For example, there's a massive difference between a mask you can purchase on Etsy, which might be 10 to 20% effective, or a surgical mask, which might be as much as 60 to 65% effective, or an N95, which might be 95% effective, 90 to 95% effective. But if it has a valve, you should probably have another mask over that, or you just get a valveless one, and the government should make those available to make sure we have proper supply of those available to Californians. And the government should provide insight that there is also, if somebody wanted, a P100 mask that is nearly 99.9% effective against COVID. The research is available online. You can search that yourself. But the point here is simple. The government doesn't need to mandate vaccinations. Vaccinations should be a personal choice. The government doesn't need to mandate masks. Masks should be a personal choice. But the government should be responsible for providing a proper education around masking. The government should be responsible for providing proper rules and regulations for keeping businesses open, not for keeping them closed. For example, let's keep businesses open as long as we have a HEPA filter within, X numbers per X square feet. Totally fine with that. Or proper ventilation if weather permits, just have the windows open. Science supports these decisions. Not more overbearing, overpowered California governor crap that has led hundreds of thousands of people to leave the state last year. And folks, it's not just high earners. How do I know that? Because I actually talk to businesses. I actually understand what businesses are up against. Type this into the YouTube search after this video. California Exodus, confronting a struggling business. Tell me what you think about those regulations and why the hell anybody would actually want to do business in California under those kind of restrictions. Folks, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you. If you want to support the campaign, make sure to go to meetkevin.com/donate. Learn more about my 20-part action plan for saving California by going to meetkevin.com. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next one.